Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Kietzman. Happy New Year to all. It's our first broadcast of the new year here at Uncanceled, or at least mine. Your humble host may be a little rusty today. It seems like it's been a while since I've done this. I hope it's like riding a bicycle, and man, do we have some cool stuff to talk about today on Uncanceled. And of course, we will open the phone lines to your phone calls because I'm going to guess many of you, just like me, are insanely proud Americans today after seeing what our military forces did, capturing and extracting Nicolas Maduro from Venezuela in the cover of night in a mission that was so complicated and detailed, I don't think we will know for weeks or months how hard this was to pull off. We'll give it some due context here as we go forward because I think Trump really rolled the dice. He might have rolled the dice on his entire presidency on this one, not for the case of Maduro. Okay, now that it's worked out, this won't be like the defining moment for most American citizens. They're going to want to see the economy do well. They're going to want good things to happen, lower tax. We know what folks want. This wasn't on the top of the list for most Americans because maybe they don't think about the geopolitical part of this, how it affects Russia and China, the oil, the drugs, all these other things involved. Most people don't want to think about that stuff in their daily lives. But Trump took a very, very, very big risk here. If this had not gone well, it could have derailed his entire presidency. And I've not heard one person talking about this in the 2+ days since Maduro has been extracted. And yes, I love that word, extracted. We're going to toss him in front of a 92-year-old Orthodox Jew judge in New York, ladies and gentlemen. Just giving you the description of Judge Alvin Hellerstein. He is 92 years old. Really? We flew this guy out of Venezuela, brought him to New York City, perp walked him, made him wear, what was the thing that looked like Mickey Mouse ears he was wearing? On the one walk, Maduro's walking through and he had that weird hat on. What is that? Some kind of a safety, anti-suicide, cover your face thing? I don't even know what that was. But as they're walking him, and he doesn't walk right, he's in handcuffs. I mean, he couldn't have looked more like a stooge. It looked like he's wearing Mickey Mouse ears. It's just hysterical. The optics of this have been great. Did you know they flew him? We're going to see some great film, not video, film. I think we filmed this. I think you're going to see one of those great Trump videos not too long from now about this entire process and how excellent this was. They flew him around the Statue of Liberty to film it and show the world. There's the Statue of Liberty. Mamdani the communist is the mayor of New York. I'm bringing your commie buddy in here with you, and we're going to lock him up. And we're going to put him in this prison, this jail in Brooklyn, that is so bad, they complain that the water is brown, the rats are everywhere, the guards are mean, they pound loud music at us all night so we can't sleep. There is more complaining about abuse in this jail than pretty much anywhere. And that's why they send so many high-profile people there. Diddy was there. I think this Luigi Mangione is in there right now. Ghislaine Maxwell was in there. Sam Bankman-Fried, the disgraced financier, has been put in there. Maduro's going to be there, and within the hour, he is expected to walk into court today for his arraignment. So sometime in the next hour or two, that's going to happen. He's going to be arraigned with his wife today, and it won't be much. The arraignment won't be much. He doesn't have to plead guilty or not guilty. We might get a look at who his lawyers are. It's pretty obvious what they're going to do here is they're going to try to build an immunity case for Nicolas Maduro, saying he was the president of a country, so he's immune to this sort of action. It violates international law, and it violates United States law. There are two problems. In 1989, also on January 3rd, the United States went after Noriega in Panama and got him out and brought him to trial in America and convicted him. His defense was immunity, and it did not work. And he spent the rest of his life in prison, almost 30 years in prison, where he died eventually in prison. The problem Maduro has as he goes forward with an immunity plea is there is no recognition of him as the president of Venezuela. And it's not just the United States. It was Trump, it was Biden, both say he's not a legitimate president of Venezuela. More than 60 countries worldwide do not recognize him as a legitimate president of Venezuela. The European Union does not recognize him as the president of Venezuela and did not before he was extracted. He was a wanted fugitive in the United States of America. There is no case. Trump was asked about the judge. This Judge Hellerstein that will preside over this, at least for now, will preside over it. And this could take months and months and months to go forward on this thing. And they don't really care. They're going to keep him in some really crappy jails and make him pay for it while they're going through this. They don't really care. Trump was asked about this judge who in the past has ruled against Trump and not been particularly friendly to Trump. Trump was asked about him, says he's impeccable. Everybody thinks highly of him, and this case is, quote, infallible, unquote. So they are not worried about it at all. The amazing part of this whole thing is we had 150 airplanes in the air, more than 150. There were parties going on at Mar-a-Lago for the New Year, and then other dinners and celebrations and whatnot. Like Trump took an extended period of time at Mar-a-Lago. They were going to do it a couple of nights earlier, and the weather wasn't proper. Everything had to be just right. These planes and choppers came in at 100 feet off the water. I will say this. These crazy drug lords sometimes are really stupid. Like, I think Maduro was convinced Trump was not going to do this because just a week ago he was singing and dancing and taunting Trump, saying, come and get me, come and get me. He was making all these weird videos. I don't think he thought Trump would actually do it. And then it happened. The strongest case you could make for him not thinking Trump was going to do it was not the compound and how it was set up for Maduro. It was basically a military base. It was fortified. He had a steel room. He had a safe room. He had all these different things. That where he was so close to the ocean, it's crazy. Venezuela is a big country, landmass-wise. It's really big. It's not some tiny little island in the Caribbean. Okay, this is South America. There's a lot of land. It's mountainous in places. There's all kinds of different things in places where he could have gone. And he didn't. He stayed close to the water wherever anything was going to come. If boots were going to be on the ground, they were coming from the water. And they just seem like Caracas is not necessarily beachfront, but it's very close. And so that helped a lot. And I've been reading. I'm so fascinated by this, and I'm so proud to be an American. The defense shield that they had, the radar jamming, that was supposed to detect any drones that we fly in, and we have a very secretive drone that is 66 feet wide wingspan and 15 feet long, and it flies out first, and it gets it does all the recon. We know where everything is, and it starts to do some jamming, and we have all kinds of sophisticated equipment to do all this stuff. They had anti-stealth radar equipment that was made by China, and we turned it all off, all of it. This is really important. We can talk about Venezuela. We can talk about Maduro. We can talk about the oil in Russia and the effect that will have. What are the Chinese thinking right now? They set up a system in Venezuela to where we couldn't do that to Maduro. And they'd convinced him that it was never going to happen, that Trump's not crazy enough to try this, that what they would do, the only thing they could possibly do is send in one of those special forces things with like 5 guys where they drop them in. And 5 guys, and those 5 would have been killed because this was essentially a military base where Maduro was. No, we overwhelmed them with force, undetected force. Maduro thought he had Chinese best anti-stealth radar, and they had nothing. We turned the lights off. We killed everything. We went to airfields. There were more strikes. When the details come out on this, you're going to be blown away. It wasn't just that location. We took stuff out everywhere for one mission to get one guy. And then, of course, people on the left melt down and go absolutely crazy that Trump did this, it's illegal, and all these other things. We'll talk more about it that as the show goes on, because these folks are nuts. And there are people in the Democrat Party right now in the middle that are like, hey, we got to shut up on this stuff. When America wins, America wins. This is bad for our party to be complaining about a win. All of these people that are saying it was illegal for Trump, all of these Chuck Schumers, Kamala, all the Shifty Schiff, all these people on the left have previously been on record as saying Maduro's got to go. He's a bad dude. We got to get him out of there. He's been indicted. We got to get him out. And he's a fugitive. And then Trump does it, and they hate it because Trump did it and was successful. It was beautiful, man. This mission, I can't wait to learn more. about the different places we hit, the different systems we jammed, the way we were able to do this. The sheer number of people involved had to be into the thousands. Well, of course, thousands, because how many people are just on the Iwo Jima service members, where they flew Maduro and then they got him to New York and they perp walk him in the most famous city in America. This is Trump being Trump. New York is still Trump's town, and he was making quite a statement. This was just absolutely incredible. I'm so proud to be American. Delcy Rodriguez right now is in charge in Venezuela. And the beautiful part about what's happening is we're offering deals to some of his lieutenants, I'm sure, to testify, to go live in Russia in exile and have a nice life. We'll let you go as long as you're not involved in anything else. There's going to be a lot of that going on. This Delcy Rodriguez at this point is doing what Marco Rubio is basically the president of Venezuela. Now, the Democrats think that's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. What we are asking them to do, they will do, or Trump has already stated, we'll play ball again. We'll come in and take you out. So just do what we say. We're not interested in occupying you. We're not interested in a war. We're not interested in an election or regime change right now. Yes, this woman Machado, who maybe was the rightful winner of the election, and the people of Venezuela would love to, she's conservative, would love to have as their president. They cannot install her yet. They cannot put her in yet because she would not have control of the military. If they put her in charge, somebody in the inner circle would kill her. Okay, Maduro, they got to weed their way through this. So they leave Maduro's vice president in, and she's apparently more than willing to just do whatever Rubio's asking to have done. They got to weed this thing out. It'll take several weeks, if not longer, to figure that out. And then maybe we'll have an election at some point in 2026, and Venezuela can be a free country again. We'll install somebody who was duly elected, clean the military out, get the Maduro people out of the military, because you could have an internal assassination on stuff like this. So it's just going to be fascinating to watch. And what it will do economically for America should be fantastic. They have heavy black crude oil in Venezuela, the most in the world. There are very few places that are good at refining this and turning it into gasoline and using it. It's difficult. The 5 best places on earth to refine the heavy black crude are in the Gulf of America, in the United States. We are experts at this, and all of that oil is headed our way. I'll take it. And if that's what the Dems want to make this about, knock yourself out. These people are crazy. Give me a call. I want to know what you think. 913-408-7957. That's 913-408-7957. Let's kick off the new year here at Uncanceled, right? With your calls coming up next on KCMO Talk Radio.
Hey, it's Vince Gallane's Catch My News Show at 11 o'clock after Kevin Kietzman on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
I just got an excellent text from Congressman Mark Alford, who said the United States recognizes Gonzalez as the actual rightful winner of the election in 2024, Edmundo Gonzalez. That's true, and I've heard that over and over and over. Machado's the woman who had been reportedly in Europe or other places. I get confused a little bit on this. What I have read is if they had an election today, they believe that she would have the best chance of winning. Hey, listen, I don't know about Venezuelan elections. Mark Alford does. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you for sending that in. We all recognize that Maduro is not the guy. Everybody, like 60-plus countries around the world, even the European Union, okay? So this was a fugitive. He can try to defend himself with immunity. I don't see how you can do that when the lawful position of the United States of America was he was not a president of a country. There would be no immunity under that if you don't recognize him as the president. So I'm sorry. I got a smile on my face, man. I'm so proud of the men and women in our military and the sheer guts that it took Donald Trump to perhaps roll the dice on everything that's important to him about his presidency and legacy. Do you know how many ways this could have gone poorly? Nobody's talking about that. We just think the United States military is invincible and we can do no wrong, okay? And we are that good. And our hearts break when something bad happens. But my goodness, this was one risky deal. Amazing. All right, let's go to the phones. Mark and Lenexa is up first today. Good morning, Mark. You're on KCMO Talk Radio.
Hey, Kevin. How are you today? Happy New
Great.
Year.
Happy New Year.
You know, I've been listening to Pete this morning and you now, and I get, but I voted for him 3 times, but this isn't what I voted for him. I sit here and I think I was listening to you talk about how they landed all, but we still can't land planes at Reagan National. Our infrastructure's falling apart. He talked about how does this make America great again? Maduro is so far down the list of drug kingpins. How about the cartels in Mexico? How about fentanyl in China? And this is just, you know, I'm hearing everyone cheerlead, and I'm honest. I'm almost saying I saw those people protesting Saturday, and then I saw what happened, and I thought, you know what?
Did you see the people of Venezuela?
What's that?
Did you see the people of Venezuela? What are Venezuelans doing today?
Okay, but
I'm just asking. It's just a simple question. How are Venezuelans reacting to this?
They're the ones that you're showing on TV.
No. I'm asking you what you think. What you think? There's 30 million people in Venezuela. 25% of the population has left. 25% of their population has left, has fled the country because of Maduro. How are they reacting to this?
Many of them are happy.
All right.
But we're not the world police, Kevin.
Gotcha. I'm 100% with you on that. I appreciate the call. Thank you. I understand your position. I'm not worried about Reagan Airport today. I understand that you are, and I thank you for the call. I don't want some war in Venezuela. I don't want occupation. I don't want any of that. But drug deaths are down dramatically in this country in 1 year under Donald Trump. The city of Chicago alone, drug deaths are down 42%. The drugs aren't getting in. This man is serious. And he says he's going to Colombia next. And he's going after their president. FAFO. Saying the same thing. Stu in Rosedale is on KCMO Talk Radio. Good morning, Stu.
Hi, Kevin. Well, you know, like you say, we won't know all the details of this operation, but it's we're looking for ways to praise it. And I came up with a little bit of shorthand way to praise the operation, because when you look at this kind of coordinated military and intelligence effort, also informed by great daring, it's the sort of operation that one might expect of a country like Israel.
Okay. All right. Appreciate the call. Thank you. Outstanding. Let's go to Jordan. She's up next in Kansas City. Looks like she's got some history with Venezuela. Good morning, Jordan.
Hi, Kevin. Yeah, I worked for a decade for a Kansas City nonprofit called Unbound, and we headquartered here in Kansas City, but we worked with people dealing with poverty all around the world. And I was working. Part of my job is part of the marketing communications. I was one of the writer editors I had to monitor the news in case we needed to, cover a volcano erupting in Guatemala or whatever. And so I paid a lot of attention when Maduro started taking over all of our, like gas companies, oil companies, Exxon, BP, obviously British, but they just started taking over, and they gave them the choice, basically, either give us most of the control of the company or you have to leave and we're going to take it anyway. And Unbound was actually the last American nonprofit to leave Venezuela. And I can't remember now, it was 2014, 2013. And it just, the inflation got so high and the money we were sending wasn't even reaching the families. And the little bit that did, it wasn't really doing much for them anyway. It just got to be too unsafe, especially, if you had contact with Americans. It was very unsafe for the staff there. And we just had to make that unfortunate decision. We can't work in this country anymore because it's making it worse for the people we're trying to help. And, so when we talk about, the previous two callers ago saying we can't be the world's police, well, these people literally stole from our companies, our infrastructure and things like
there's
that.
no doubt.
The oil. And so we're just taking back in some ways our rightful property, and at the same time trying to help the people of that country because they're not being helped by the Maduro and his people in there. They're still starving and barely can afford food as is, 10 years later. And
well, that's a great call, Jordan. Thank you. And thank you for the work that you've done and the things that you've done in places like Venezuela. That's awesome. I really appreciate that. This is what it's all about. I mean, you've got people that are not free. You have people that are oppressed. You have people that want 25% of their population found a way to leave after Maduro took over. I mean, just staggering numbers. Great stuff right there. You want to join the conversation? 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled.
from Smithville to Shawnee Mission, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
All right, you catch the keyword. There it is. Text it in to win tickets to the Stagecoach Music Festival, a trip to California to meet Riley Green, country superstar Riley Green. Keep listening 4 times a day and text in to win with KCMO Talk Radio. Everybody's talking about the Maduro extraction. I love that. The Maduro extraction. Indeed. Such good stuff. So let's get back to the phones and see what's on your mind. Steve has been hanging on patiently in Shawnee. Thanks for waiting through the break, Steve. How are you today?
Hey, Kevin. Just let you know something about the extraction, about the jamming systems. We use the same jamming systems in Desert Shield, Desert Storm against Iraq. You see, it's no big news on that. But getting back to the one thing about what Mark from Lenexa,
did the Chinese build a system that they believed would be unjammable for Iraq?
I think they had the same. I don't know what they had, but they were.
And how long ago was this?
Oh, about 40 years ago.
Yeah, and you think the technology for jamming was the same then as it is now?
Chinese are lazy about technology and trading off the cheap stuff, you know?
Okay.
It's
good
just
enough.
cheap stuff. Okay. Well, moving on about Mark from Lenexa. I understand. I'm not too big on being the world cop either, but this is a thing that's in our backyard. And the thing is, if it has the Chinese involved, that puts a priority on it. If they're trading oil and other things, it's a little bit more deeper than that. That's why the priority was Venezuela and taking Maduro out, and he's not a legitimate leader of Venezuela. Okay. Now, another thing, I just want to get this off my chest. There was a certain federal political person named Sharice David who made a statement that she was totally against that because that Trump didn't go towards Congress to enact a war against Venezuela. That's not the way you do things. You got to go at the surprise attack. You know, if we want to go full-fledged war, then that's something he can deal with, you know, maybe 30 to 60 days, and he can approach Congress and do an active war against Venezuela. Sharice David is making some riffles about this, and I really find that Congress needs to step back and let the president deal with this thing.
Yeah, they're going to lose on this one big time. And there's a report at Daily Caller today. There's a handful of Democrats who consider themselves Democrats, not liberals, not the base, not the progressives, and they are apparently working very hard with their party in D.C., telling them, shut up. When America wins, when America does something great, you support the military, and then later on, you decide whether or not this was the right thing, or your initial reaction can't be, we hate Trump so much, we hate this action. Thanks for the call. I think this is really important. This could be something that really hurts the Democrat Party. I do, because I do think there are still some good people in there that are in districts that are purple, if you will, and they understand that even somebody who's a Democrat would see the drugs pouring into our country, the travesty that is Venezuela, going from one of the wealthiest countries in South America to the poorest. There's no arguing what's happened and that this will be better. The question is, does it, work fully and become wildly better for the Venezuelan people? We don't know that. We do know this, and we can rest assured, regardless of what the crazy people on the left in our country say, Donald Trump does not want to take over Venezuela. If he did, he'd be teasing that he's going to make it the 51st state, and he hasn't done that. Okay? He's not interested in that. What he's interested in is leverage. And he's got it. And he's got the old Maduro vice president running the place with complete and utter leverage, which means she's doing right now what we're asking her to do. And if she doesn't, there will be another strike. He's already said it. We're not ruling it out. We may have to go in and do something again. We're going to watch and see what they do. And if they do what we tell them to do, everything's going to go just smoothly fine here, but we're not going to go in and do it. If they don't, we'll take them out. And they'll become criminals at that point. It doesn't seem as complicated to me as a lot of these things in the Middle East, where you have all these little tribal factions and religions, and it's very complicated in the Middle East. This doesn't seem like that. This seems like a drug lord took over a country, ran it for a few years. Nobody recognized him as a legitimate president, and Trump took him out. And Trump was patient. Okay, Trump's been in there for almost a year now. He was patient You don't think he wanted to do this last March? Of course he did. They rehearsed and they practiced, and they rehearsed and they practiced. And they worked and they worked and they worked to get it right. Because you can say what you want about Donald Trump, and a lot of people think he shoots from the hip. He is a calculated man. I heard Pete play the clip earlier today of Trump on Elon Musk saying 80% of the time Elon Musk is brilliant. The other 20% of the times he's misguided or wrong. And I'm with Pete. I took that as a compliment. I'll take 80% really good in the decisions that I make, and 20% sometimes I'm wrong, whatever. I'm good. But I don't think Trump thinks that's a great ratio. He's very calculated. And he's made mistakes, plenty, but I think he's more of a 90-10 guy, or shoots for a 90-10 guy. What I want to know is what he was told the percentage chance was that we would send thousands of people into this action, over 150 planes in the air, go in there, get him, not lose any aircraft, and not lose one single person. I want to know what the percentage chance of that was. It couldn't have been 50%, could it? Could it possibly have been 50%? We got a helicopter that was hit, but they got it out of there. We had 2 soldiers wounded that are apparently going to be okay. And I want to know what the chances are that was going to happen. I don't think anybody told Trump, hey, there's a 99% chance. Whoop, we just go in there and grab him and get him out of there and it's all good. I can't believe that. Maybe it was better than 50%. I'm just throwing darts here. But I find it hard to believe that this was a 99% possibility. This was really, really complicated. Let's go to Jeff from Shawnee. Good morning, Jeff. You're on KCMO Talk Radio.
Well, actually, I'm back in Arizona for 3 months. But, hey, what a wonderful day in America, man. Tim Walz ain't going to run again next year. We got the stock markets breaking records today. And, hey, anytime I can keep drugs from coming across the border, and this is the actions you have to do, until a congressman or a lobbyist or a senator loses a family member to fentanyl, they might think about it all different. Hey, man, this is all what we voted for. Hey, man, like Charlie Sheen said, hey, this is winning, man.
Winning. No doubt about it. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. I always appreciate you calling. And note, I said Jeff from Shawnee, not Jeff in Shawnee. Very important distinction there.
Very. You nailed it.
Mark put it right on the board perfectly. It's from Shawnee. Currently in Arizona. Jeff, thank you. Nice day in Arizona, I'm sure. Mark is in Brookville talking Venezuela. What's up, Mark? How you doing today?
I'm doing a lot better after Saturday morning.
That was quite a deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was up at 2 o'clock anyway, getting rid of some rented beer, but I watched it all from 2 o'clock on. I never went to bed till Saturday night.
You had the adrenaline flowing, didn't you?
Yep, I was pumped up. But
good for you, man.
For Stu, there were 24,299 flights last month, 2025, at Reagan Airport in Washington, D.C. And that helmet or the Mickey Mouse ears you were talking about?
Yeah.
That's a helicopter flight helmet. And if you noticed, it looked like they had goggles on that were black.
Right.
They had him blindfolded.
Well, I get that part, but when the perp walked him, that was off. You could see his face. He still had that beanie thing on his head. It doesn't really look like a helmet. It did look like Mickey Mouse ears.
Well, that was just a blue kind of pink hat.
I think it's funny, man. I think it's funny. Did you have something you wanted to say about a famous Kansas City Royal?
Well, how come you're not interviewing Sal Perez right now?
Well, Salvador Perez is the happiest person in Kansas City this week. I can guarantee you that. He literally became a citizen and moved his whole family here because Venezuela was too dangerous. And it was just awful. They were getting extorted. People don't know this about Salvador Perez. His mother was still there. When she wanted to go to the store or go anywhere, he had to hire 3 security, like giant Chevy Suburbans, the armored ones, and they would travel her around like she was the president, like a motorcade. So you had to guess which vehicle she was in because everybody knew where she lived, and the drug people wanted to extort Salvador Perez by kidnapping the mom. He got to get her out. I mean, it was so dangerous for her there. When they knew in Venezuela that you're worth $100 million and they're in the United States and your relatives are here, they're going for your relatives. I'm going to say this once, okay? And I'm not going to say who it is. I've known some people for over 20 years who had their son taken in Mexico by the cartels, and they were extorted because they owned a business here in Kansas City. And they extorted money out of them. And it took intervention by politicians in Kansas and Missouri to get him home after he was beaten over, run over, and almost killed by the cartels. It took 3 years for that to happen. It's the greatest unknown story in Kansas City. They don't want it to be public. They don't want people to know. It happens everywhere. And Salvador Perez had to work his ass off to make sure it didn't happen to his family in Venezuela. These are horrible people we're talking about. These drug cartels are the worst. And that's all this guy was a drug kingpin. That's all he is. He's just one giant thug at the head of a drug/oil cartel that was ponying up to China in our backyard. Not good. Not good in any way, shape, or form. No, this is a great day for America. This is America first. This is exactly what I voted for. Let's clean it up. If the benefit of this is we get a whole bunch of cheap oil and gas prices go down, great. If the benefit is it breaks Russia economically because they can't sell their oil as easily and it ends a war in Ukraine, even better. If it proved to the Chinese that they literally told Venezuela they had jamming systems that would prevent this from happening, and their systems don't work, the best. Throw an exclamation point on that for me. All the above. Sometimes when you take a test, it's not A, B, C, or D. It's E, all of the above. And that's what this was. Beautiful stuff. 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio.
From Lawrence to Leavenworth, it's Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on 95.7 FM KCMO Talk Radio.
Hey, you have until the end of the show if you'd like to go to the Stagecoach Music Festival in California this year to meet Riley Green, country superstar. Text the word MIND, like the great minds. MIND, MIND, to 95819. I'll repeat that again here in just a moment. So just grab your phone and let's do this. Text the word MIND, MIND, to 95819 for your chance to win a great trip and a real superstar there in Riley Green. Good stuff. Back to the phones we go, and then we're going to check in with Mark. We got some sports topics to hit on, but right now here's Scott in Lawrence. He's been holding patiently. Hi, Scott.
Good morning, Kevin. That's okay. I had time to finish cleaning the kitchen before you
Beautiful.
got me on. And I'm looking for my voice, by the way, so if you find it out there, send it home. At any rate, I want to remind everybody of the Monroe Doctrine. And this is something that's been in effect for over 200 years. And President James Monroe, I was 1823, I think it was, recognized that we could have a threat in the Western Hemisphere if there were unscrupulous foreign powers that were suddenly trying to colonize or exert their influence. And this has been ignored largely by most presidents we've had, and maybe John F. Kennedy with the exception of the Cuban Missile Crisis. But forever, presidents said, Joe Biden said, just say no, or not just say no, he just said, don't do it. That's what he said. It's ridiculous. And we have a president that has stood up for America. And I also want to remind people the money that flows from these cartels finds its way into the gangs of the inner city. And they use that money also to fund politicians.
That's right. And that was my point. Mayor Q had this ridiculous tweet over the weekend that we're starting a foreign war over oil and stuff. I'm like, sit this one out, Q. You're so wrong about this. Do you know how much drug deaths are down in Kansas City? Like, I always like to point to those, those 3 guys at the Chiefs party a few years ago that overdosed and froze outside and died. I don't think those guys would be, I think they'd be alive today. I think the drugs that are getting in now are diluted. They're weak because we've weakened the cartels. They're not making the things as strong as they did. They're ripping people off for lesser quality, if that's what you want to call it, of these drugs. And drug deaths are way down in America. This I voted for. This is all good. Sometimes this is, and thanks for the call, sometimes this is just like young people that are stupid and make mistakes in life, right? We all get that, okay? Teenagers, it's not always just like the worst of the worst people, mentally ill or whatever, that just can never get their way out of it. Sometimes it just happens for the worst of reasons. We just got to stop this stuff from coming in. I'm for it. I'm all for it. And I think we're making great, great progress in that regard. And Mayor Q's just flat, I don't even understand it. He's a mayor of a city. Look, I like to give my opinion too, so he's absolutely got the right to give any opinion he wants. How does that help him politically going forward? To just jump with the left and say Trump is starting a foreign war over oil. Nobody believes that. Nobody believes that we're going to war in Venezuela. If you do believe that, you've got a problem. You've got Trump derangement syndrome. And Trump derangement syndrome will get you fired or out of the business quickly. Tim Walz is learning the hard way today. He's not running for re-election in Minnesota because he had Trump derangement syndrome, essentially. And they got caught up in all this Somalian fraud. It's over for him, and he's announcing that today. All right, let's take the last couple of minutes here, check in with Mark Van Sickle, who I haven't spoken much with over the last 10, 12 days or so as the holidays were here. Everything good in your world, buddy? Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you as well. Yeah, it's been fun just watching a lot of sports over the last couple of weeks.
Yes, indeed. Going into play yesterday, if you reversed every one-score game in the NFL, in other words, the team that lost by 1 score gets the win instead, the Chiefs would have been the 1 seed and the Broncos would have been dead last in the AFC.
Makes sense.
The Chiefs were 0-8 this year versus playoff teams. They went out with a whimper, but they get to pick number 9 in the draft. And we've got reports everywhere that they're blowing this team up and they're going to reboot. Are you on board?
I'm on board. This is the year to do it. When you miss the playoffs, that's really the only chance. If you want to keep being a contender, you got to do it in this year. So I'm definitely down with that.
The Seahawks are the number 1 seed. This is your Team B for you.
Yep.
I saw a post yesterday that the last 3 times a pope has been selected, that the Seahawks were the 1 seed and went to the Super Bowl. Well, they became the 1 seed. The first 2 times they made it to the Super Bowl, we don't know about this year. Have we verified that? Is that true about the
Yes.
last 3 popes?
It is true.
What kind of sports stat is that?
It's a nice religion and sports stat.
I hate to think that Seattle Catholics root for bad things to happen to the Pope, but maybe they do. I don't know. Matt Quatraro gets a 3-year contract extension to manage the Kansas City Royals. This will take him through the 2029 season. He is the 7th winningest Royals manager already. He had winning seasons the last 2 years, which was a pretty good trick. Where would you rank him with Royals managers? He's pretty good, isn't he?
Yeah, I'd say probably top 5 at least. But
I think it's higher than that.
Yeah, I guess so.
They've got a good one.
Really run of great managers, so.
Yeah, and what I really like about this, Mark, is to me, it says that he's committed to the Royals. Like, he could have let this thing play out. There's plenty of teams that would have hired him.
Mm-hmm.
So he must believe this can work here. And that really excites me. Because I think he's a wanted man. I think if he managed out his year this year, that a lot of teams would come after him.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question. The FCS title game tonight is in Nashville, Illinois State and Montana State. This is the one Villanova did not make, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
I got Montana State.
You do? Are you going to watch?
I think it's Taco. What's his name? Taco Dowdle.
Oh, that's
He's got to
right.
get another touchdown.
And you can go to FanDuel and put a wager in.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let me know how that goes, okay, buddy?
Will do.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to Uncanceled. The Vince Show's coming up.